Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to unpack something truly profound, the silent strength of focus. Have you ever just felt completely overwhelmed by the noise around you? The expectations, the constant judgments, that endless chatter that just seems to drain your energy. Well, today we're exploring how achieving a state of deep focus can literally transform a person's life. We're going to look at this through a really beautiful cinematic story set in a bright golden village. It's a simple setting, but man, it holds a massive life-changing lesson on how mastering your attention is the ultimate key to driving personal success.
Think about a high-end camera lens for a second. When a professional photographer wants to capture a stunning, crystal-clear portrait, what exactly do? They adjust the lens so the main subject is perfectly sharp, and the background just melts away. Focus blurs the background. That's the core hook we're exploring today. And to really understand how to apply this powerful concept to our own goals, we're going to follow the story of a young boy named Jyoti.
Let's start with Section 1, the weight of expectations.
Picture a peaceful village, surrounded by lush green fields and bathed in this golden sunlight. Here we meet Jyoti. He was a brilliant young kid known for his sharp mind and his good heart. But life wasn't exactly a fairy tale for him. He lived with his mother in a tiny mud house, carrying the extremely heavy expectations of his entire village. His daily grind was absolutely grueling. He woke up before the sun even thought about rising just to plow the soil. He worked those fields until his body was completely exhausted. And only after all of that would he finally sit down to study under a tiny, flickering lamp. The whole community was absolutely convinced Jyoti would top his 12th grade exams, and he pushed himself to the absolute limit just to validate that belief.
Which brings us to Section 2, the noise of failure. When those 12th grade exam results finally came out, a sudden, really dark moment overshadowed that golden village. Jyoti failed. Just one subject, but he failed. But the real devastation wasn't the grade, it was the noise. Everywhere he turned, he heard these cruel whispers and laughter from people he'd known his entire life. People saying, "Look, the smart boy who failed. He can't even pass one subject. All his confidence is useless." Imagine hearing that every single day. Their mocking voices followed him absolutely everywhere, acting like physical thorns. Jyoti kept a brave face on the outside, but inside, his heart was just breaking with every single step.
Let's move to Section 3, the Milk Pot Challenge.
Completely broken by all this mockery, Jyoti goes to his mentor, Teacher Vishnu, this wise old man with incredibly kind eyes. Jyoti confesses that he just can't take the laughter anymore. But instead of giving him, empty platitudes or a pat on the back, the teacher gives Jyoti a completely wild task. He hands him a large pot filled to the absolute brim with milk. So the crucial point is this one strict condition he gave him. Not even one drop must fall, not a single drop. Jyoti had to carry this heavy, totally full pot along his usual path, right past the very people who were actively mocking him, while maintaining absolute, unwavering perfection in his balance. It's a truly bizarre request, right? Why would the teacher ask him to do something so strange? How in the world is carrying a precarious pot of milk going to stop an entire village from being cruel and judgmental? Just take a second to think about that. Jyoti was deeply confused too, but he respected his teacher enough to agree. And what happens next is the absolute climax of our story today. Let's look at Section 4, Tunnel Vision. The next morning, the sun rises gently over the fields. Jyoti fills that big pot with fresh milk right up to the very top. As he steps outside, holding the heavy pot with both hands, it feels incredibly shaky. Literally one tiny misstep, and it's spilling everywhere. And right there, lining the path, are the villagers, ready to whisper and judge. But Jyoti navigated this incredible pressure with immense physical and mental effort. His eyes were entirely locked onto the milk. His hands were completely steady, adjusting to every tiny shift in weight. His breath became slow and careful. In that fragile moment, he wasn't hearing the harsh whispers at all. He was hearing only the rhythmic, steady thud of his own heartbeat. You can almost physically feel that intense, unbroken concentration. And then the transformation happened. The world around him became a total blur. The voices, they simply faded away. The judgmental faces completely disappeared from his peripheral vision. Even the absolute loudest laugh from the crowd just sounded like a distant, faraway echo. Because his mind was so supremely locked onto that single pot of milk, the external noise totally ceased to exist for him. He reached the fields and not a single drop had fallen. Moving right along to Section 5,
How focus drives success.
Jyoti walked back to his teacher, his path now entirely quiet and his mind completely blown. He told Teacher Vishnu, "I was so focused on the pot that I didn't hear anything on the way." And right here is where we shift from a simple village fable into a really profound framework. Now, what's really interesting about this idea is his mentor's court truth. When your mind becomes deeply focused, the opinions and words of others slowly begin to lose their power. When you are truly locked into your goals and your internal purpose, the external noise naturally becomes entirely meaningless. It's not that the villagers miraculously stopped talking, right? It's that Jyoti just stopped giving them his precious attention.
Before this lesson, listening to the crowd brought Jyoti nothing but suffering, self-doubt, and pain. But by shifting his attention inward, listening to his own heart and his immediate goal, he unlocked a massive new internal strength. The village itself didn't change its behavior one bit, but Jyoti changed. He stopped worrying about their words, and he returned to his exam preparations with a profound, unshakable peace.
So based on this, we really need to redefine what we mean by this word. Focus isn't just some basic productivity hack. It's not merely about sitting at a desk and checking a task off a list. Focus is a state where a mind focused on its target becomes virtually untouchable to noise and the opinions of others. It's an armor. It's this invisible shield that you actively build around yourself, allowing you to drive your own personal success, completely insulated from the negativity of the outside world. Let's move to our final section and see how this builds into our own lives, finding your true focus. Now, we might not live in a mud house, and we probably don't plow fields before dawn, but we all face our own mocking village. We constantly face the noise of social media, the judgment of peers, and the overwhelming pressure of modern expectations. The question is, do you let that noise break your confidence, or do you find your pot of milk? So I'll leave you with this vital thought. Identify what truly matters to you today. What is your goal? What's your dream? Once you know exactly what it is, hold your milk pot. Hold it with incredibly steady hands. Pour every single ounce of your attention into it. Because if you stay deeply focused, you're going to force all that surrounding negativity to blur entirely into the background, exactly like a camera lens finding its perfect subject. So what is the one thing you need to focus on today to make the noise disappear?